out of the gate. This device right here, this postage stamp Arduino, costs about $1.50. Right? They're super cheap, right? And so when Larry and I were looking at, well, what kind of a device would we like for the BLE tracker, we came across this device called the Cheap Yellow Display. So you can see it here. I've got it on the screen.
Yeah. So Cheap Yellow Display, named really well, right? It's about $11 to $15. It's yellow, and it has a 2.8-inch LCD display on it.
Yeah,
we're really good at naming things, right?
Right.
It's
So that is, and actually, we didn't name that. That's its name.
Yeah.
The name of this device is a cheap yellow display. On the back, Larry kind of showed it here, but this is our ESP32 right here. And if I flip back over to the presentation, if you're, uh-oh, my slideshow's gone away. Yeah, the Android.
The Android phone can do that.
Thanks, Android. It says trying to connect. Awesome. Well, you guys can kind of, this is wonderful. This is going great.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. I got the next slide. So while you're finish up, and then I'll do the next slide, then you can fix it. How's that?
All right. Well, actually, we skipped over this one. So I'm going to go back. So why did we, I know that you guys can't see it. I'm trying my best here. They're not really. I'm kind of giving it half-ass.
Bill, you're not going to be invited next year.
I know.
Sorry.
Hey.
But I bet you're...
Hey, whose Wi-Fi is Hilton meeting? I'm going to use yours, okay? I'm going to give it a shot. Oh, no, I need an access. No. Okay. I trust all of this audience.
Bill's going to be wiping this laptop this afternoon.
Hey, can I have access to your Pineapple or an Android phone or whatever?
H-O. No. Capital H. Yay, demo fail. Bill, did you sacrifice the chicken this morning? I mean, we sacrificed a printer, but...
I was going to make a joke there, and I'm leaving it alone. All right, well, we're just going to deal with it. So when we take a look at this ESP32, we talked about that it's an Arduino and very small and you know, the size of a you know, postage stamp. It does come with some sacrifices, right?
Keep going.
Yeah, so it does come, go ahead. So it does come with some sacrifices. So the processing speed may not be the same as a full-size Arduino. We have less GPIO pins available to us. We have a little bit less memory, than normally we would have with an Arduino. But still, this is a very, very capable device.
I don't want to keep going through all your windows because
I know.
don't know what kind of. Yeah, we don't want to know what your browser's got going on.
Okay. We'll give that a go.
Oh, what'd you do? There we go.
Hey,
Bill, you suck.
Thank you. I was like, can I get that, please? Let's hear it! Josh for the win!
Now let's see who. Let's see who remember browser autopone.
Yeah, right. Hey, I mean, this is only my work computer. It'll be fine. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
So just looking here. All right, shut up. We're moving on. So also the CYD has expansion capabilities, right? So we have the way to access the GPIO pins. There's already a breakout for ribbon cables. There's already a speaker on board, an RGB on board, and it has micro SD. This is a really, really good board to use in our project.
For $11.
For $11. Touch screen, that screen on top is touch screen. It's amazing. So this is not my flowchart, but it is a great flowchart to look at. It's the best way to identify a CYD, a cheap yellow display, if you're going to be on AliExpress or Temu or anything like this. Following this, so is it yellow and does it have a display? Like, yes. Is it 2.8 inches? Yes. And then does it have a resistive touchscreen, meaning that like it kind of sucks. Yep. Does it only have micro USB? It kind of sucks. Yep, that's a cheap yellow display. All right, Larry, you're up.
All right, some other things you might want to add. These things are powered over USB. Now you got to plug this thing into a battery pack or a computer to power it and all that type of stuff. But maybe we want to be able to provide this to somebody so they can walk around their car and their home and see if some of these things are here to make it handheld. Now, I haven't done this, and we'll see a project that I used one of these for that is unrelated that I really needed to, but I ran out of time. So we can actually power some of these standalones. Typical lithium battery we're going to find is 3.7 volts. These devices really want 5 volts to power them well, so we need to use something like a buck converter. And then if you just use the buck converter with the JST cable to connect it, there's no charging circuit, so now maybe you make batteries explode. But I discovered this all-in-one charger device that has the buck converter. You can plug it in USB-C and we'll charge the battery appropriately with appropriate monitoring and all that type of stuff. So you may want to add some of these types of things to make something a little bit more portable. All right, Bill.
All right, well, I guess I'm back up. So I just really kind of want to show you, so this one is 101 level stuff here, but if you've never seen Arduino before, I just wanted to show that this is really the Arduino ecosystem, thank you, is very, very beginner friendly. There are tons of tutorials out there. They make it super easy to get the software and super easy for you to program these devices. So if you just go out to arduino.cc, you can download the IDE. As you can see here, really the important thing on this slide is it's available for whatever operating system you're running. And and I'm not sure if it shows it on here, but they also have a way to run it on Chromebooks, right? So
but you know what you can't do?
What?
Run it on your Android phone.
Oh, that's right. After you download the Arduino software, in order to be able to program any kind of ESP32 or any one of those types of boards, you do have to download some additional board managers. It's simple. The instructions of this are online everywhere. It won't be hard, but you do need to make sure that you add this step where you add this little library to the Arduino software to be able to program the boards.
So it knows how to find the board, how to interact with it, and upload software to it.
Yeah, and so what that looks like is when you're in the Arduino software, you just go and you select the board that you're going to program.
And there's going to be about 1 billion of them listed. So
Yeah.
which one do I choose, Bill?
Right, well, and not only was there 1 billion before, but we just added more, right?
We added 11 billion.
Right, so as you can see here, I'm just selecting ESP32, and then as that tree expands, we're just going to select the ESP dev module. So you may see your specific board listed there. If your very specific board is listed, use that, of course. But we find that just the dev module generally works.
Yep, absolutely.
From there, if you're really interested in this project, and we're actually going to show you it running and those kind of things too, we've made it really, really easy for you to get started, right? So we've published the GitHub. It's up right now. The code that we're going to show running on this it's published right now. It's on my GitHub, so it's right there. But really, all you have to do is clone the GitHub. And then just go hack some shit with it, right? So everything in there, we've made it very, very user-friendly, beginner-friendly. There is one little bit that you have to replace a file, but we walk through that really, really easy. But this code is available.
And it's for the display driver. So
yeah, it's the display driver. Once you have the GitHub cloned,
open it with your Arduino environment.
You open it with your Arduino and you press the program button. Like that's really, you connect your Arduino and you press the program button. It truly is that easy. So I just want to make sure that we really, really do encourage you to try this out. What you're going to find is that this ecosystem is so beginner friendly, and you can do some really, really cool things with hardware. I showed you some modules earlier, that there's all kinds of sensors. There's all kinds of equipment that you can connect to it and control with an Arduino, and it makes it super simple.
Now, don't worry. Oh, go back one. Switch over to the camera.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So, great. We're going to dig into some of the code a little bit, but does it... So, does it actually work? couple of steps: install the Arduino IDE environment, add the boards, download some code, pull it in the IDE, and press program. Does it work and does it detect tags? Well, let's see. Booting up. Yeah, look at that, tags already. I apologize, it's like filming this with a potato. It's a little dark up here, so let the autofocus see what happens. But yeah, it's detecting some tags. The display needs some work yet, but it's telling me it can find, right up in the top right-hand corner, that little yellow circle, it says that it finds 57 devices currently for between AirTags and a bunch of other BLE trackers. Now that said, it's also a little bit more inflated. 135 from Paul, but you started it a little bit earlier. Yeah. It's not on Android. It's actually on a cheap yellow display that Paul couldn't get working, and he needed my help with. Because see, your Android phone couldn't do that either.
Well, actually, show yours. You've got a cool little case and everything. It's pretty cool.
So, yeah, 3D printed case. This is one of the other versions that has the USB-C connector. So there's a couple of different versions out there. It will run on all of these. Now, these numbers are maybe a little bit inflated because, well, all y'all are here. All y'all have iPhones. Those also act as AirTags. Because if you joined your Mac or have you joined your iPhone to the Find My network so that you can locate your phone when you lose it, it's now an AirTag, right? Yeah. How about that?
Yeah, and there might be other interesting things.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. All right, so how do we detect really gross hot dogs? All right, so looking at the code a little bit here, we've got a dirty for loop, right? It takes a BLE packet, a BLE advertisement, and it looks at the BLE advertisement for some of those manufacturer indicators. Specifically looking at the first if payload line, it's looking for 4C00, Apple. The next one is also 4C00 Apple, but Apple has a couple of different applications. We don't want iBeacons, we want AirTags. So the next portion of that payload, there's a 07 in hex and a 12 in hex. One of those is for a registered AirTag, the other one is for an unregistered AirTag.
You guys probably remember when we showed you that packet that we were able to capture and see how to decode that, right?
Yep. And when we originally started looking at this project, it was AirTags only. And then we realized there are so many other cheap tag things. So when you lose your device, you can have this tag on it. You lose your dog, you lose your backpack. You might have some other manufacturer's type of stuff like Tile. And guess what? Tile has its own unique manufacturer ID, and we don't need to dig into the application. Why? What does Tile make? They make trackers. They make hot dogs. Yeah, they make trackers. Okay. So now let's go detect all of the hot dogs, or all the trackers. So now all we need to start doing is adding the individual manufacturers. So I went about this the hard way. I fired up my Nordic NRF 52840, Wireshark, and started doing some packet captures, and I bought a bunch of tags so I could get the advertisements and the beacons, and started trying to dig into the protocol and figure out what identified them, and turns out it was really all about just the manufacturer ID. So I went about this the hard way, looking at this stuff in Wireshark. And on the left, one of the service class IDs or of FEEC for the individual manufacturer indicates as Tile. And I'm like, well, why did it populate Tile? Well, because these are assigned by the Bluetooth Special Interest Group. And they have a document that specifies all of these, so I didn't need to do this the hard way. Okay. Some other fun things that with the tags that I bought to start doing this, there was one specifically from Millie that said it is Find My Compatible. Do you know how they make it Find My Compatible? 4C00. Yeah, they identify their devices from Apple. Yeah, it's a clone. I can imagine their intellectual property lawyers at Apple are having a field day with this. They're just identifying as an Apple device because that's the way they programmed it. Other manufacturers, not so much. All right, so how do we detect even more hot dogs? Okay, so this is what Paul's next Tesla is going to look like, and this is what AI thinks a hot dog-shaped Bluetooth-enabled Tesla looks like. This is priceless. Okay. Yep, I also maybe told it a little bit to. I also maybe told it to make it look like the Wienermobile, which, for the record, Oscar Mayer is hiring drivers so that you can drive the Wienermobile cross country if you want to. Okay. So, yeah, how do we detect more of this type of stuff? Let's go look at the documentation from the Bluetooth Special Interest Group for the 16-bit service class UUIDs. Just look for the companies that have those that are registered that make trackers, such as Millie and Chipolo and Tile and all that type of stuff. You don't have to do this the hard way. You don't have to do packet sniffing. You just need to find some stuff. Well, now we can even maybe turn this evil, or a little bit more evil. You don't care about AirTags, right? But you want to know when Teslas drive by your house. So take one of these things and put the Tesla UUID services in. Now you can have a Tesla detector. And I was sitting there thinking about, well, now I can tell when Paul drives by my house with his Tesla, or any other Tesla for the matter. But what other personal privacy implications could this be because of some of our Bluetooth low energy beaconing devices? Now I'm thinking about what other types of things are people wearing that have some indicator that knowing that privacy might be broken about some of their health conditions. Anybody have an insulin pump that's Bluetooth low energy enabled? You don't need to tell me, but they exist. How about folks that are maybe insulin-dependent diabetics or non-insulin-dependent diabetics that do continuous glucose monitoring? Dexcom G7 is Bluetooth low energy. Ask me how I know this. I'm wearing one right now, right? Well, your fingers are so soft. Well, it's Palmolive. You're soaking in it. That's probably a joke that goes well beyond some of the people in this room, right? So now think about the types of things that we can detect based on some of the manufacturers that may have some other personal privacy implications. I'm type 2 diabetic. I'll tell you that right now. That's why I'm wearing glucose monitor, right? Hey, but I don't care if you know. Let's talk about it freely. It's a great journey. Not great journey, it's not, but it's a journey that all of us can learn from, and I'm happy to share that type of stuff. There are other people that might be really damaging to know that type of stuff. All right, Bill. Is this me or you?
Well, so
I think we kind of covered
Yeah,
that,
I think
right?
this was me. So, okay, yeah, let's go back.
So what if you don't want to do just Bluetooth low energy trackers and you've got some of these cheap yellow displays? What other things can you do with it?
Yeah, I just want to go back
Okay.
real quick. So, like, if you are that Android guy, I'm like, oh, my Android can do this. Like,
Oh, it's that guy again.
Yeah, it's that guy again. It's Paul. There's other projects for the CYD that are also available and really, really cool to check out. And so, like, if you happen to get a cheap yellow display and you want to try out other things, we just wanted to call out some of the other big projects that are out. For example, there's Marauder. You guys may have already seen Marauder running on maybe a flipper with an add-on board, those kind of things. It does all the DOF and all the Wi-Fi.
A whole bunch
tricks.
of Wi-Fi attacks, yep.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a dedicated board using an ESP32 chipset.
Well,
which is the
your
same
CYD
one.
already has one built in.
Yep. So there's a port for the Marauder firmware to the cheap yellow display.
So Bruce is another kind of like a penetration testing type firmware. It's very, very similar to like a build your own flipper, right? Again, you can just drop these firmware. We didn't make these. We're just highlighting that these other firmwares exist. You can drop them right onto the cheap yellow display and they work awesome.
Back to using your microcontroller for good or evil, right? You got this thing. Maybe you use it for some tracker detecting. It's reprogrammable. Use it for other stuff too. Have fun with it. Buy lots of them, right? And one that Paul actually made sure we knew about as well is that you maybe throw 3 or 4 different firmwares on this type of stuff and you have to reprogram this thing every time. No, use the M5 stick launcher. They actually ported the M5 stick launcher to the cheap yellow display, so you can put a bunch of sets of firmware on SD card, and you can switch between the different firmwares after reboot. And it uses a touch screen. It's got a web updater. Lots of fun stuff to happen there. So multi-purpose, all on the SD card as well.
But this thing has a screen on it, right? And does it have to be a hacking device, Larry?
No. I think about all the fantastic people in this community, and we're by nature very creative. Okay? And we can start using these things for stuff outside of the security community. So other maker things you can do for your cheap yellow display. I've seen people use them as an ODB2 display for their vehicles so they can get, coolant temperature and oil temperature and all that type of stuff. I've seen someone on GitHub use it as a DRO for their lathe so that they can get precise, repeatable measurements by measuring where your cutting element is and all of that type of stuff. And I had one that I'm a Star Wars bounder, so not cosplay, bound. I do my own character, and that's the only way you can do it at the Disney parks. So as part of that, I wanted a nice little wrist-mounted display that had targeting computer and all that type of stuff on it. And I actually found one of these things on Etsy with a cheap yellow display that rotated through a bunch of images from the SD card, and they were charging $99 for it. That is a lot of hot dogs. I happen to have some cheap yellow display and a free afternoon, so now you can do this for $11 because there's some code out there. It needs some documentation, but I didn't actually end up using it as part of my my bound. We went over to Disney over Christmas, mostly because I would have had to take one of these battery packs and stuff it up my sleeve, and I'm already wearing enough crap that I don't need to add more to it. So I didn't get the standalone battery. And quite honestly, I put the gauntlet, the wristband together in about 15 minutes with some other working tools in my workshop, and it's crap. It doesn't really fit well. So more to come. All right. Some call to action, right? We made some progress. We did some stuff. But we very much encourage you, if you start using this, to help us make it better. And in fact, we started with some projects that were out there that we started to make better, from Matthew Kukanich, specifically around his first forays into the AirTag scanner on the cheap yellow display. Some things that we need to do. The display is awful, right? It shows you the first 5, and then it scrolls off the screen, and there's no ability to scroll. So you can see that there's a bunch of tags, but it doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. It also spits data out on the serial port. The serial port data doesn't necessarily match what's on the screen, and it's a little garbage, but you actually get more data, and there's some work to do. There's also only a couple of tag types. I think it does Milli, Chipolo, air tags of both varieties, and tile currently, but there's a bunch of other manufacturers out there. Yeah, we'd love to see more folks contribute, and sure, we can go to the Bluetooth SIG document and grab some of those, but we don't necessarily know all the names and can't buy them all. So the other one is when we start adding multiple tracker types, we then start ending up with potentially way too much data. It might be nice that we could have a nice little set of checkboxes. Hey, I only want to search for air tags, so it only does that part of the for loop. So it might be nice to do that. Or we could just create a whole bunch of firmwares, just individual stuff, and use launcher. Well, that's kind of a pain. So there's work to be done. But I think that's a great opportunity for us to encourage you to get into some of this use of microcontrollers and so forth.
I just want to add real quick, you don't have to, right? So if this is something that you're interested in, if this is something that you want to give it a try, the code's ready to go. What we just showed up here is ready to go and play. But because Arduino is so beginner friendly, we also want to encourage, pull request, just development on the platform. If you're interested, go for it.
All right, so question. Are there any of the students here that were sponsored to come? The students? How many? In the back? Okay, come on down front. Free cheap yellow displays. Oh, the batteries? Well, yeah, you're on your own for that one. After we're wrapping up too, we've got 3D printed cases as well, so you're welcome to some 3D printed cases. Take one, pass them down. Got another one too. I'll happily sell some of those afterwards, and quite honestly, I don't want to bring them home. I want my suitcase to be empty, so we'll make sure we get rid of these. I started the weekend with 50. I was supposed to have 150, but thanks AliExpress getting your stuff stuck in customs. Okay. All right, another one, Bill, before we have to wrap up here.
Okay.
Who traveled the furthest to get here? All right. Who drove? All right, you're out.
Wait, let's start here.
No, maybe not.
Well, let's start here. Is there anyone from outside of the United States? Oh, we got one over here.
Put them up high. All right. How? Just 2? 3? All right, yeah, come on down. You're the next connection.
You know, we did no verification, right? Like, just they raised their hand.
Awesome. Yeah. Anyone else?
We got one more.
I'm not going to throw it to you. Here, so I'm going to take this back to him. Nice. All right. Well, we want to say thank you. ShmooCon, it's been a blast. I know that my career probably wouldn't have been where it was without ShmooCon. I think my first ShmooCon was Shmoo 2. I spoke through the kindness of Dr. Sergey Bradis at 3, and it has been an amazing ride since then, and I hate to see it go, but we'll see you at the next one, whatever it is.
Yeah. Again, I also want to say my thanks to Bruce and Heidi. You guys put on an amazing show, as well as all of the volunteers and everybody. Thank you so much for coming to talk this morning. We love you all.
These things fly well.
No chandeliers!
Yes, chandeliers. What's that? Yes. Yeah?
He's too busy being the They're all his. You're going to have to deal with him. What's that? Oh, I know, right? Yeah, I know. That's awesome. What's that? That's awesome. Tell him, hey, we're going to Hawaii. They're not mine to give away. Otherwise, I would. Like those all came out of his pocket. Whatever it is. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, have you met Paul and Mary? Oh, okay, cool. We did. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome talk. That's Josh right there. Hey, Bill. Yo. All right, somebody raise their hand.
All right, we got one left.
Hey,
Let's go long. Yeah. Should I refill?
okay, I'll go long. Oh, right there. Right here. You right there. Hold on. So we no, right? And so he would actually be he may have, because his research is out in Bluetooth in general. He may have done that. Honestly, with this, we wanted something that we could just easy, here you go show. But that's kind of what he does in his day job. So if you're interested in that, man, you should talk to him about it. He's super legit. So he's been a SANS trainer for wireless and IoT and wireless for just years and years and years. I know he looks. I know he looks super scary, and he's a sweetheart. He's super easy to talk to. Bro, are one of those for me or what?
No, well, this one for you.
Oh yeah.
For the record, Bill and I don't leave till tomorrow. We'll be at the bar tonight here, so if you want to chat, you're more than welcome to. We want to make sure we get out of here and give the next speaker the opportunity to take the stage and do their thing. So.
Because, you know, I have no idea. I've been working with my phone, my computer, and all this stuff. I want not my stuff. It's my girlfriend. I'm going to plug some trackers in your car. I'm not tracking you. Like, I want you to notify me if you get notified that I'm tracking you. Right? And so I thought about this. I don't know.
Paul was actually the one that shared this one with me, so.
Like really bad, was it probably have malware on them somehow?
Yes.
You know, like those ones we were very
Thank you.
just with a phone or whatever. But it was like I missed that. They're all gone. Yeah, and so like Larry might have, like those came out of came out of his pocket or whatever. So. Yeah, thank you so much. What's that? Oh shit! What's up? Like, I know, man, like, it's so hard, like, I can't recognize people wearing masks, you know, and, like, I see their eyes, and I know, like, I think we're getting kicked off. So, yeah, nice seeing you. Thank you.
I use the same handle everywhere. So. Awesome. Yeah, we got to get out of here, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you. Got everything.
Your speaker badge is on the floor.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I guess. Okay.
Morning.
Good morning, ShmooCon. I have incoming things. We'll see how I do at throwing them, but. Woo!
If you have it, it'd be better. I might have it.
It's in the other room, so see if you have it. If not, I'll run and grab one. Unless you have one in your pocket. Yeah.
So we still have a few t-shirts at Reg that are available for donation. We also have a Lost and Found. Please check it. And you are in the Build It track, 11 a.m. session on final day of ShmooCon.
There's a handheld if you like that, or we can put the podium up here.
That's,
Do you have any audio output from your stuff?
nah.
Nice and easy then. Still doesn't work.
Oh, they found you. Wollenweber.
And our presentation is titled Imposter Detection with Watchman. And our presenter is Matthew Wollenweber. So with that, I give you Matthew.
Is it not presented?
Is it not coming out? Yeah. Or you can use the other laptop in there too. Bring it with it just in case.
Oh, no worries. It's my fault.
Not yet. He's getting the EDID thing. Yeah, the EDID. He went to grab it.
Is it working now? Mm.
I'd say just plug it direct. Well, I don't think that.
You're not working? Again? Can you say it again? Alright, test 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm not a singer.
Can you try unplugging and plugging it back in?
Yep.
Yeah, like it was in before where it shows us, you know. Are you going through an adapter or directly to our Apple adapter? Which we haven't had any problems with.
I'm gonna try to.
It comes up. He's bringing over another little inverter box. Are you getting it at the board? Are we getting the? Is this a 2020 model MacBook?
Like probably 2019. Yeah, that's an Intel. Yeah, it's 2020. You're right.
Try that. This is seeing it again, but did you happen to upload your slides to the Google
I did
Drive?
not. I got a USB though.
So you could kindly throw your slides on USB with a backup plan if necessary. can't get this to work, it's always good to have plan B. Oops, just happened. I might just put it on the slide.
Start inching the backup laptop closer.
Yeah. I mean, I can unplug it again if you want.
I think we're going to backup.
Okay.
Make sure that's. Oh, no. Download.
Well, we're gonna put it back on the podium in a second, so.
Come on. Power. What is this?
There's our over there. I cannot click. Alright. Power.
Yes.
There you go. Let's put this on the desktop.
Awesome. Thank you. Alright, ready to do the intro. Sorry for that, thank you. So this is imposter detection with Watchman. Just go through the agenda real quick. We're going to start with who I am. What is imposter detection? Why do we care about it? Go over briefly why doesn't those... You can hear me? Briefly go over does this already exist, because there's lots of products in this space. Go over how it works, go over this specific tool. First, who am I? My name is Matt Wollenweber. I mostly do security operations kind of stuff, incident response, currently at Exonius, but this is a personal project. Can you turn this up, or? All right, so first, what are imposter domains? Here are some examples and a brief description. An imposter domain is basically something that's deceptive. It's often used for fraud, for BEC. Here are a couple that actually are recent hits. Sometimes these are benign, sometimes they're branding, sometimes they're shadow IT, but often they'll be used in phishing or BEC attacks. Hopefully everyone's seen some of these before, or things like this. Why do we care? Basically because it's used in phishing. So here's a quick phishing example. This is one of the domains that I detected that has the Insomniac string in it. It's probably used for phishing because they registered www.insomniac, and it's pretty easy to make a phishing attack out of this. Even more common is business email compromise. So fake invoices. These seem, I don't know, they seem stupid, but they actually happen all the time. They work when it goes out. I've seen millions of dollars lost in these things. This is an example using the domain that I saw infringing Insomniac. It's insomniac.dev. Somebody registers that domain. They set up email. It passes DKIM and SPF because it is a legitimate domain. They send something like this, and somebody, when they're in accounts payable or whatever, they just don't notice this. it's actually hard to detect. There's often extra domains. Like, so my personal domain is insomniac.tech. I also have .technology. A lot of other businesses will have like their federal system. So Exonius has Exonius Fed. There's also like partner programs. So you'll have like whatever your company name is, dash partner, or some of them will set something up for marketing or for a conference. So these things exist, and people in accounts payable, people that are doing the business side of things, they're just used to seeing that, and they fall for these scams. So basically, we want to detect when these happen. They're not all bad, but we want to know about them. And we care because, basically the kill chain on this. So we can see it when there's registration. In the live attacks, they often wait 30 days. Most firewalls will block newly registered domains, which is usually for 30 days. And then after that, you can monitor them for things that are usually indicative of an attack coming. One of the big ones is setting up an MX record. So when the domain's registered, it might sit there for, 30 days, a year, whatever. But the attack's going to come out basically when they turn on email. Similar to that, if they put up a website, you want to monitor that just to see if it's there. It's actually helpful in case they start forwarding to your website, or if they put up your brand stuff, they can help with the takedown. And then that's the parts that we can monitor. What they do is they send the spoofed emails or links, and they profit by taking your money. Aren't there a lot of services that already do this? There are a lot. I've probably used most of them. The reason this exists is basically getting pissed off from the service failing and having to handle incidents, and money went out for these kinds of attacks. Typically, we'd see the alerts from like these paid services 3 or 4 days after we saw attacks, often 3 weeks after the domain was registered. I never really understood why that was. So basically, Watchman, all of this is me going through like, is there something in the technology? Is there something in how this is done that it has to be that slow? It turns out there's not. The other component is about 10 grand a year to monitor for a specific brand. And the other part of that is usually it's not your brand that's going to be used to attack you. It's one of your vendors, it's one of your clients, it's something like that. So who you want to monitor is often not yourself. Okay, how domain monitoring works. This is basically DNS. So DNS in one slide, what could go wrong? Just briefly, DNS is what translates IP addresses into something you can recognize. There are registers like GoDaddy, Cloudflare. TLD is the top level domain, so .com, .tech. The important thing is ICANN. That's where we get most of the data for this, where Watchman gets most of its data. ICANN is kind of like the United Nations for domains. They organize how it mostly works. And the cool thing is ICANN CZDZ, it's terrible to say, but ICANN, you can register, you can get a free account, you can request access to the different zones. So if you haven't seen it, you can go to the URL that's there, or just Google ICANN, and you can sign up to get access to the root zone files. You have to have a reason, saying that you're doing brand monitoring or phishing detection is usually sufficient. There are thousands of them. They also like to play games with like expiring it or like adding hurdles, especially like the shady newer TLDs. So you have to kind of go through and set this up, basically make the request. The screenshot of some of mine. Some of them are fast. COM I think takes, a few weeks usually. And most domains are in COM. Like COM is so much bigger than any other TLD. It's the primary one that you really need to care about. So if you haven't, and you're interested in doing this kind of stuff, go to ICANN, just start this process so that you can get access to the raw data. Now what ICANN provides is zone files. That's the root zone. It basically provides the name servers for any domain that's registered. This is the format of it, but the cool thing is that we don't really care. We just need the domain name, so you can just rip all of this into like a list of strings. So that's the format, that's sort of the details. This is what ICANN provides you, but for the purposes of domain monitoring, you just rip out the domain.tld. The naive solution for how like domain monitoring works. Basically, you get all the zone files from ICANN. You process them, you get each unique one, and you look up, is it already in your database? If it's not, then it's a new domain. And then from there, you can run a search on it. Usually that's a regex, substring, something like that. And then you alert. And finally, you update your database. It's the basic process. This actually is super slow. I think COM has like 200 million in it. Just to try and do all those inserts is super slow. You can't batch them because the batch will fail. And then you have to figure out which one it is. So it works. It just takes about a week to load every time. So Watchman is the tool that I made to do this. What is it? It's only hosted on GitHub. It's cool because it's free and it's kind of fast. I can run imposter detection on my 2020 laptop. The biggest constraint is that you have to, it has to have memory to be able to sort basically COM in memory to be able to make it fast enough to process. So it needs a few gigs. Mine I think has 32. I think 16 would probably work. What's it do? So it ingests every zone file from ICANN. It runs searches on them. The ones that I support right now are substring, string edit distance, which if you're not familiar with, it's basically just the math distance from one string to another. So like if you have insomniac.tech versus insomniac.com, I think the distance would be like 3. So you set a tolerance, and if that string is within the distance, it matches. It's a nice way to do it. But everybody's probably familiar with regex. It monitors for MX records, like I said before. That's important to detect when an attack's likely to go live. It monitors for websites. By that, I basically mean it checks for port 80 and 443 to see if there's an HTML response for basically the domain itself, and then www.domain. And if it does, it can send you an alert saying, oh, hey, something went live. What else? I do virus total enrichment, which is kind of nice. And it sends emails and alerts to, it sends alerts via Slack and email. Why it's fast. So before we mentioned like the inserting into the database was super slow. There's actually a better approach to it. You download each zone file, you sort it, you can compare it against yesterday's. It's basically a merge sort. So you just diff it. So if there's something in the new file that there's not in the old file, you just add that to a list. It's much smaller. The insert in the database goes in minutes versus weeks. Slide. And now just to walk through sort of what you do. This is I'm not a front-end person, so it's a Django-based project. This is just the Django admin panel for configuring a search. I gave you the URL, so if you download this and you want to set it up yourself, but basically you put in the string, you set the type of search. For string edit distance, you have to have a tolerance, so that's configured. For something just like substring, there's no tolerance, but it's set up the same way. You configure an alert. Again, in the Django admin panel, it's pretty easy. It does Slack webhooks. It also does Slack, just an app if you configure that. And it can do emails. I think I set it up to configure with Gmail. I'd have to double check. But I mainly just use Slack. So it's a Slack webhook. You just send JSON to the webhook, and it's great. The way they actually run it, it has celery workers. So if you just want to put this on a server, let it run forever, that works. It's kind of expensive if you want to host it in Amazon. You have because you're going to move a lot of data. It's downloading, I don't know, hundreds of gigs a day, dozens of gigs a day, processing it, inserting it in database. So it's kind of expensive. I just run on my laptop. Nice little script, just run daily. It's, again, a bunch of Python Django commands. So it updates whatever zones you have configured. It runs the searches, and then it runs the alerts. And here's an example of what one of the alerts looks like. This is a Slack alert. It's something that actually happened. I think, was that at the conference or on the way when this came through? So this domain was created on the 7th. I think this ran on the hotel Wi-Fi. So it's pretty lightweight. It's a domain that, I'd be interested in. It seems like a match. Again, I don't know that it's actually malicious, but, if I were doing a lot of business, I'd care about it. I get a little bit of enrichment. I see that it's Namecheap, which is often associated with attacks. I see that it doesn't have doesn't have a website yet, but it does have MX records, which means they might be emailing something out. It has a link to go see it via an API, which, because I'm not a front-end person, it's just JSON. that's super hard to see, but if you can you'll be able to download the slides. It's basically the same data, just in JSON. So it has the domain, the match, when it was created, and then it has the virus total enrichment, which is just the VT lookup for what the domain is, for what that domain is. You can also edit the matches. This is important in case something's a false positive, or you just want it ignored. Basically, just set the status. But we care about. We can also set alerts for when things change. So don't just alert on when the domain's registered, but we can set alert for, hey, does it have a website? So basically, there's a poll alert just scheduled. It goes out, checks to see if the website's there. If the status changes, it says, hey, the status has changed. There's a website now. It sends out a Slack alert. Same thing with MX records. There are a couple other things. A lot of this is still in development, this particular feature, but other things it will monitor for is like, can it detect an image that's being infringed upon? Does it have a specific image? Does it have content? Has that content changed on the website? But it's basically just a seller-based poller. And sort of the interesting part, because this is free, and you can just run it yourself, and it's not 10K per domain that you want to monitor, you can share this. So like basically you could set up, you can mark specific hits as public and then publish them via JSON, so that if you have clients that might want to ingest this into their own system to do blocking and say, hey, don't accept emails from these domains or don't accept links from these domains, you could basically use it as a block list. Future work. I would love to hear input. I guess the important thing is I'm not a front-end person. Like if anybody is interested in making this pretty, that would be super helpful for me. Beyond that, I want to make the Slack messages interactive. We do a lot of automation at my day job where you can just click buttons in Slack to say something's a true positive, false positive, or basically action it within our SOAR. Watchman doesn't do that, but it's not too hard to do. The other thing I'm working on currently with this is ingesting from an inbox. Basically, you take the email addresses that you know from that we're sending things to your accounts payable, take those as true positives, and then build an automated list of like the simple matches that you might want to run for those. So their domain name is a substring, the string edit distance, and then you can create a list, and then you can run your own searches in your SIM or whatever to determine if maybe you guys are getting phished or there's a Beck account coming into you. A couple other things, take screenshots of it, that would be nice. That feature does exist, but it's kind of dangerous because you have to, it's basically just like a Chrome driver, so it opens Chrome, and this is potentially a malicious website, so I'm working to do that ephemerally in the cloud, but that's still to do. Other things, takedowns, that's not super hard to do, you just need a lawyer to sort of sign off on like a template paper. So it already integrates with VirusTotal, so I speak very quickly, apologize for that. So I have some extra slides. So one of the things that it can do, I also set up rules in VirusTotal. So if you have a VirusTotal account that lets you do live hunting, you can set rules to basically match what your domain string is that doesn't end in that root, and that will create an alert and hook up to the Watchman API to basically get that alert and publish that too. You also get newly observed domains for free. That's often a service you have to pay for, but because you're doing this diff, you create the new domains, like you get all of those. Watchman can also dump that list as CSV, dump it as JSON, or look up a specific domain as newly observed. I think that's mostly it. Anyone have questions? Oh, yeah, I can go back. Sure, the question is, I think in this slide, it says severity is low. I'm guessing you're asking where that came from. That's the virus total enrichment, so that's virus total threat severity. Yeah. Go ahead.
I might have missed this before. What was the daily volume for those zone files?
So the question is, what's the daily volume of the zone files? What do you mean by that?
Either size or number.
So the biggest is .com. It's about 200 million records just in the file. I don't have size on like what the diff is. All the other TLDs are pretty small, like .net's moderately sized, .org's moderately sized. There are also a lot of them, so you, when it's running via Celery Scheduler, you do have to be a little sensitive to ICANN's API limits for the 1,000 random mass TLDs that there are. So that's slightly problematic, but volume-wise, like this on my laptop from 2020, it runs an update process in a couple hours, and most of that's from downloading. ICANN's super slow.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Using any Postgres-specific features, or could this work with Redis or some other key value store?
It could work with any other key value store. Sorry, the question is there a particular reason it works with Postgres? Could it use another database or something like Redis? It could use anything. Sorry, it could use any database. It probably couldn't use Redis because it has Django as the backend. That's sort of core to the functionality. So you have to have like a proper database for that. But for doing the diffing part itself, yeah, you could use something else. But, no, I don't. So thank you. Repeating the question, do I have stats basically on who the worst registrars are or how long the domains live? I don't have stats on that. One of the things you can do if you try to get access to the zone files via ICANN, a lot of the registers will, a lot of the shady registers will kick it back or ask extra questions or make you email them or just jump through some random hoops where they'll expire your registration or they'll set a really short expiration and make you like renew it every couple months. I don't know their names, but they're just the little terrible ones. But there's also not a lot of volume in there. Like, I've been running this kind of system for almost a year, and I've seen other systems like that. You know, the professional ones, the professional services. Most things come through .com. Galen, yep.
I've spent more time than I wanted to admit in the last year doing VACs.
Doing.
I've spent a lot of time trying to like chase a lot of stuff down the last year, so this is great. I was curious, would you be willing to publish your true positives as a feed?
Yes, I would like. So the question is, he's saying he's had this pain. I suspect a lot of us have, and would I be willing to publish my true positives? Yes. My biggest hurdle right now is hosting it. Exonius might do it for me, but because of the data store, the database like cost is probably about $600 a month plus a moderately sized EC2 instance because you have to have the memory to be able to diff the zone file, the COM. There are efficiencies that you could do if you just need to spin that up while that particular one's running. I haven't done that, but yeah, the goal is to do that. Yeah, and that's the idea. So it's set up to be configured for multiple clients. If I were better at business, I would do that, but I'm not. So it has an idea of who a client is that has searches are particular to them. And then has a specific field, like is this public? Alternatively, you could have, you know, is this available to registered users? Conceptually, that exists. For me, this works right now. So like hearing this feedback is useful for like, you know, would other people want to see that? So yeah. All right.
How much more accurate this is compared to like other popular brand protection services? Like, is it catching a lot more that they're missing, or measure that at all?
I haven't measured it. Sorry, the question is, have I measured how this compares to other tools? I haven't measured it, but this is created from being pissed off at the other tools. Like, they show up. We've used most of them. Former company that I worked for, they've bought all of them. They would switch them out as soon as they had like a big failure or there's a big breach associated with them, or maybe they'd run a couple at a time to compare them against each other. Typically, we would see the emails coming in from like from a partner, like a vendor, 2 or 3 days before we saw the alert in their system. And often that was with 3 weeks or so from when the registration date was. what I have seen in the data is that I see the domain published sort of, it percolates within Watchman the day that it's created in the zone. So like there should be no actual delay. I don't know why big vendors are doing it. I suspect because even though it's $10K a month, $10K a year for a domain seems like expensive, it's not like nobody's gonna make a lot of money on this. Like it's the hosting cost, it's not sexy, it's just drudgery. So yeah, I don't think I'm paying much attention to it. Maybe they're doing the naive solution where they just have a big database and they try to insert everything and it just takes a few days. I'm not sure, but they're terrible. Most are terrible. I haven't found a good one.
I would say that your $10,000 per brand needs another zero behind it.
Oh, really? You pay that? So the comment is my 10K per brand needs another zero behind it. I've seen some online that offer that, but I guess it depends on how big your brand is and how many sub-brands. But like ballpark of like a domain name or a couple of them, they basically a set of searches, 4 or 5 is I think I've seen around 10K a year. Yeah. 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 Any other questions? Oh, sorry. You. Sorry, the question is, have I thought about Dockerizing this or putting it in a container? I hate Docker. Yeah, I'd like to host it. Like the idea would be that it could be ephemeral and just sort of go up to like EC2. I don't think I'd want to just do it in not Docker, but yeah. I mean, if you want to help with that, cool. Like I'd help make sure that it worked. I don't really have any to containerize it myself though. Was there another question over there? Nope. So the question is, I mentioned non-ICANN, some TLDs aren't provided via ICANN. So the country codes aren't, some of them, I don't know all the rules in those. So if they provide data, it would basically make a specific basically engine to go grab that data. Like I've been working on this a while. Like COM used to be different. They weren't a part of ICANN a few years ago. You had to go FTP and grab their file separately. So I've done that before. I don't know all the specific rules for them. Like I'd like to grab .io. That would be an important one that's currently not in ICANN. Passive DNS is awesome if you have a great data feed. Like Firesite's great. Like if you have like a big hose and you can just run through like newly observed domains, it's great. That is insanely expensive, but if you have it, it's cool. Like one of the things that was popular like a year ago with these attacks, everybody started registering whatever company on Microsoft. So that was painful and wouldn't be detected in this, but if you had a passive DNS feed, it would be. I tried getting access to some of the passive DNS feeds, but basically anything that's remotely affordable is not great. And the things that are great are insanely expensive. Farsight's the insanely great one. Any other questions? Cool, thank you.